It's pretty common. I bet you've had this happen a great many times watching a movie being filmed here in the city. But are you able to spot our city in a movie? The Instagram account MovieLocate is actually looking to make that a little easier. It's a page that highlights now and then comparisons of movies and TV shows that have been shot here in the city. It's got over 15,000 followers and has showcased locations that have been used for films like Chicago, RoboCop, Good Will Hunting. Tim Bramble is the movie enthusiast behind MovieLocate. Tim, good afternoon to you. I heard a little story that the idea for MovieLocate came to you while you were watching a movie at the Scotiabank Cinema a few years ago. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's when I first realised how often Toronto was used within the movies. I was sitting watching Kick-Ass, that was a few years ago, and then actually in the film they start walking into the theatre where we're actually sitting. It was kind of like a bit of a strange moment, like a broke the third wall kind of thing.
You were seeing the actual Scotiabank Theatre in the movie that you were watching in the Scotiabank Theatre.
Correct, yeah. Very Inceptionist. Okay. Yeah.
Mm. And so tell me a little bit more, that you came up with the idea of sort of really looking into this and finding more examples of that?
Yeah, as I started to live long, I've been in the city for 10 years now, and just slowly but surely, as I watched movies like I normally do, I started to realise that the majority was filmed here in Toronto. And what was most strangest is when I was rewatching classics like Police Academy or Short Circuit 2, and then all of a sudden you'd see these films I've watched millions of times as a kid, is now I see that it's actually Toronto where I'm actually walking up and down the streets every day.
So how do you figure out, I mean, some of them, would be obvious, but there are others that on your account that look like you've had to put a lot of work in. What kind of work goes into finding these locations and matching them with scenes in films? Yeah,
there's a network of people online who get into it, a lot of film enthusiasts like myself, so it's called film tourism. But a lot of them is that I just managed to see the ones when I'm watching the film. I'm like, I think that looks like that, and I jump on Google Maps, like Street View. That normally typically helps. Like if I have an inkling of where it is, I jump on Google Street Maps, kind of look around, and 9 times out of 10 manage to find the location. I'm a pretty good success rate.
Any particular surprises? Any favorites that you said, "What? That was in Toronto"?
Yeah, I think especially Good Will Hunting. I think especially when they pepper it in with real locations. So, for example, with Good Will Hunting, a lot of it was shot in Boston, but then you get the odd bit like the bar scene, and a lot of the university was filmed at U of T as well. So, it's stuff like that where it actually gets you by surprise because they've got you believing it's Boston because they're filmed in downtown Boston, and then all of a sudden they've peppered in some Toronto.
Hmm. Are you getting good at watching a film and saying, "Oh, I recognize that"? I mean, is it sort of training your eye to recognize spots in the city?
For sure, and sometimes I watch films purposely to find Toronto. I know some films are shot here, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a break. I'm just going to watch this film. This film looks interesting. I'm just going to pay attention to the movie. And then 10 minutes in, I'm like, that's Toronto as well. Even when I'm not trying to do the research, it happens.
What do you think that says about our city and the role that it plays in major film and television productions?
Well, what I think is great about Toronto and what makes it such an appealing place for movie makers is that there's so many different sections, different parts of the city which can be passed off as anything. So, for example, Baltimore in Hairspray, or New York in many films, but in American Psycho, things like that. So just because of the small different places, there's Liberty Village, there's U of T, which gets used as MIT or Harvard a lot as well. So I think just because there's so many different parts of the city and different cultural parts, they manage to not have to travel the world. They can just film it all here in Toronto.
Okay, if you're sending our listeners to one movie that they might watch tonight or something, you've mentioned Good Will Hunting, so maybe a different one. What's the best movie to watch to have a whole bunch of, hey, I think I recognize that, or oh, sort of moments of spotting your hometown of Toronto in it?
I honestly would push in the direction of Police Academy. That is classic 80s and classic movie, and so much is filmed in Toronto. And what's great about it is that it's kind of a very good now and then. They're the ones I like where things have changed, but just enough that you can still recognize it. Yeah. Okay,
it's Police Academy it is. It's great to chat with you about this, Tim, and we'll direct people to your Instagram. It's lots of fun too.